Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So big treat for us, and hopefully you guys too today. We are delighted to be joined by Marques Brownlee. How are you?
Great, thanks for having me.
Great to see you. We've been planning this one, or trying to plan this one for a little while.
Yeah.
But it's golf season upon us right now, so there is no better time.
For real, it's the beginning of it nicely getting a little warm.
It's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, kind of itching to get out and play.
100%. We've all got that itch. We've been in cabin fever, hibernating for far too long.
Yeah.
So, Marques, people will know you for your tech reviews, right? You've developed and grown one of the biggest channels on YouTube. We get into this game about 4 years ago and kind of started to obviously see the space, and I became aware of your channel probably about 2 or 3 years ago. I know you'd done a podcast with Rick Shields a while back, and I've chatted with him, and and I know that from what he does, you're someone that he's always looked up to in terms of quality and what you do. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, how did you even get into doing the tech reviews?
Oh yeah, tech. So I've been into tech forever. And I think I first got to play with the camera when I was 11 or 12 years old, and I enjoyed it for some reason.
Yeah.
So the natural reaction was to just make videos. And in high school, I got a laptop.
Right.
And when I was buying that laptop, which is a huge deal for a high school kid, I watched a ton of videos about all these different laptops to buy. So when I finally got it, immediately I was like, I'm gonna make videos about this laptop now.
Amazing.
And that's how it started. And that was back in 2009, and it's slowly evolved since then. So I've just tried to make better videos since then, and here we are.
It's quite amazing how kind of timing and serendipitous, you stumble across a camera, you get your first laptop. I always say I get into club fitting at a time. I'm not sure if I would have stuck to club fitting had I not taken a job in a company that was on the rise, and launch monitors had first came out. So, when we get into it, it was a little bit different then when we got launch monitors, then when aftermarket shafts and everything we were just chatting about. When all that stuff started to evolve, and being involved at that at the right time was very important for me. So it sounds like it was with tech with you as well, and internet and the way things were going.
And they're kind of converging now a little bit.
Yeah.
Tech and golf are together.
I mean, it's amazing. We were kind of briefly talking and trying not to get too much into it, because we're going to talk more on the video when it comes to the tech and how you feel like those two worlds collide. But you're 100% right when you see all the tech, and we were talking about materials and things like that. And but tell us a little bit about your golf game.
Yeah, so I've been playing for a long time. I've been playing for almost 20 years.
Okay.
But I played a lot more competitively as a junior golfer up till around high school.
Okay.
And then my main sport switched to ultimate frisbee around high school. So I get to play golf a couple times a year, maybe a dozen times a year on a good year. And I don't know, I would call myself a mid-handicap golfer, something like that, with aspirations of getting back to the single-digit handicap I was in high school. And I'd say I make up most of my shots around the green, but I've gotten stronger than I was in high school, so I hit it differently. So, yeah, big evolving game.
100%. Your height, right? That's the first thing. So when we were briefly chatting, and I didn't want to get into what you use or what shafts and stuff like that, but you use the same clubs now that you did in high school.
A lot of them, yep. Same exact iron set.
Yep.
I broke the 8-iron last year, so I haven't had an 8-iron for a year, but it's an old set of those Nike sort of muscle back irons. I do have the new woods, so I have a Sim 2 that I've played.
Okay.
And I have a Maverick 3 wood from Callaway.
Okay, so that stuff's getting on the newer side.
Yeah, and then I have an older Rescue Hybrid as my 2-iron, little driving iron 3-iron, and then my wedges are all older. Although I did get I got a 64-degree Titleist wedge a couple years ago. And I use it irresponsibly like everyone else, but it's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure.
They're high maintenance, those 64 degrees for sure, but they're fun. And that's important, because if you're playing 10 to 12 rounds a year, you're not playing the game, to win club championships and this and that. Like, you aspire to get back to being a single-digit golfer. When you play, you want to play well and kind of, you know, make sure you enjoy the time of a game that you clearly love. But, you know, with the time or where you are in this time of your life, it's not feasible to play an awful lot. But we want to get you into some clubs that certainly help with that. So let's get you warmed up. Let's get you hitting a few. Yeah. We'll take a look at some numbers. So you said you've never done a fitting on a launch monitor before. Right. That's exciting.
Right. I mean, I've never done a fitting at all.
Yeah.
So I like the tech being involved right off the bat. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see how it goes.
Let's learn who you are as a golfer.
Yeah.
So you were warming up, and this is kind of no different from any client that comes into TXG and they warm up, and we're kind of eyeing them for what speed they are and how far they hit it and stuff. And I had set the flag at like 180, and you're hitting some 6 irons, and I mean they were going just like that, like you know 190 plus in the air. So you've got some really serious speed. PGA Tour average right now is about 187 on a 6 iron carry distance.
Carry? Okay. Yeah. So that's right about.
You're definitely on the north end of the speed spectrum, that's for sure.
That's good, because when I was in high school, I was not hitting it that far, and I had a better handicap, so that's promising.
That is exactly. Look at this, just striping it.
That was straighter, a little bit.
And you were saying you like to hit it pretty straight, but if you were gonna, you know, you like the ability to work it, you know, and kind of hit it both ways.
Yeah, I default to straight. Yeah. But it is very rewarding to need to shape it and to do it correctly. Absolutely. So I value that for sure.
Does that play into, I mean, again, we'll try and get into the mind of the player. Does that play into your creative side? Seeing shapes and working the ball a little bit, is that something you like to do on the golf course?
Yeah, a little bit. It's funny. I kind of think of it a little more in the math way. Yeah. Like especially if you find yourself with obstacles in the way, obviously, but just playing on a course with a lot of wind coming off one side.
Absolutely.
Or just you've hit enough of a certain shot where you're comfortable with the draw on a certain hole. Like,
I think that's a great take. Yeah, I think not enough people think about trying to work with the elements, whether it's with riding the wind or hitting it against the wind to soften the flight.
Yeah.
Okay, really good flight. I mean, you hit the ball really, really nicely. I mean, this is not your average. I mean, we were talking about handicap. You said 12 to 15. That is a reflection of how little you play, not the golfer that you are. Because you know the speed you have, that's such an asset. You strike it very, very well. From a delivery perspective, your club path is as neutral gets. If we look at the averages, I mean, you're ever so slightly out to in. So that's where that little pull will sneak in from time to time. You know, a little out to in path, a little closed face. Probably the biggest thing right now that's kind of not alarming me, but that we need to address is the amount of toe down deflection that we've got at impact. You probably feel, you will feel what I can hear right now, which is quite like a heavy contact into the turf. Yeah. That's predominantly because that toe is kind of stuck in the ground a little bit. So, interesting. You know, I'm going to go and grab a couple of things for you here, Marques, that's going to eliminate that. That's the shaft in motion. That's basically your speed. That's not a shaft. We just put that together for you to hit for a couple of warm-up shots, but that's far too soft for someone like yourself. So that's the downward deflection of the head weight pulling the shaft down. Got it. So, you know, we want that to be certainly no more than 3 degrees toe down would be ideal. Okay, so I'm going to steal that one from you. Do you like to look at a blade or like the smaller clubs visually?
I do like it visually, yeah. I'm open-minded because I know that's might not be what's good for my game. Right. But yeah, I do, like I said, the ability to shape it when I want to is important, which is why that type of head looks better to me.
I think we can definitely get you into something that's maybe it's progressive. Maybe there's elements to it that have you know, some smaller, more blade-like attributes, and then when we do get to longer clubs, there's a bit more help or technology built into that. Right. Tell me a little bit about Ultimate Frisbee from from a kind of movement and sequence standpoint, is that a game you play with your dominant hand? If you're right-handed, everything comes out of that side?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it is obviously a lot of running, cutting, and jumping.
Yep.
But there's throwing too, and that's mostly from one side of your body.
Yeah.
For the most part. There are offhanded throws occasionally,
yep.
but it is very much like stepping out on one side a lot,
sure.
rotating the same direction a lot.
Yeah.
But then you do have the backhand, which is the opposite.
Side as well.
So you kinda, maybe it is more balanced than I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But yeah, it's harder on your body for sure. So you know, that's not a sport you're going to play till you're 50, like golf.
And that's what I was thinking as you were hitting those, from the kinematic sequence of trying to sort of land and get that kinematic chain coming into obviously ultimately the hand, so you can sort of deliver some speed or some control.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably is some carryover in that sport.
I think that's true. There's a lot. It's all on the wrist in ultimate. You're spinning a disc when you're throwing it, really.
Right.
So the snap of the wrist to throw something is probably pretty similar to delivering the club through that area.
Yeah. So this is the Titleist T100. I've went with the S model to start with, just because you do hit it, pretty high, so a little bit stronger in the lofts.
Okay. It does have that bladier look at address, which I like.
Yeah, this one cheats the eye. So the eye thinks it's a blade and has all that kind of nice shaping behind the ball, really frames the ball nicely. But there's a load of tungsten built into the sole. It's one of the most forgiving clubs in that category, so it kind of gives it a little bit the best of both worlds.
Pin high.
I love it. So when we see that toe down sort of image that we saw with the first one, that's kind of the shot shape I would expect to see from time to time, is because when we tilt that head down, Marques, the face gets very tilted and open.
Yeah.
So, we see it with a lot of players who use a lot of vertical force. So when you're kind of coming through and you're trying to apply a lot of speed into impact, we get a lot of that from pushing off the ground, right? So what that does is kind of pulls the club up and drops the toe down. So
got it.
We'll make a few allowances for that. Love it. Really good. Wow.
This felt good. Still toe down?
Yeah, a little bit toe down. So we're going to make a little loft and lie adjustment. So basically not adjusting it before I gave it to you was my way of trying to find out how much that previous shaft was impacting the toe down. Actually, not a great deal. So this one is a much stiffer shaft, a little bit heavier. You probably feel that straight away.
Yeah.
But we're still getting that toe down element. So that kind of tells me that we need to make that adjustment in the loft and lie machine.
Sure.
So make a little tweak to this. Okay, so really trying to keep an eye on this dynamic lie number. So 7.4 toe down on that last one, Marques. So trying to move towards, something around 3. I'm assuming when you play, there's not kind of much thought or sort of specifics going into your golf ball choice. You just kind of play with, whatever good balls. Okay, I'm going to swap you out. Still a little bit toe down with the Titleist. Change into the Mizuno.
Okay. Another thing I wondered about too was I've been using the same clubs since I was 5'10". And I think as a result, the upright, basically I've had to get it closer to my body because it's too small. So I wonder now, is the swing plane itself just so upright that no matter what I hit, it'll always be toe down?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a part of that, especially while you don't have the sort of time to really work on that specific thing. But you're right. I mean, as you get taller, the club gets more vertical. Yeah. Right. So you're absolutely right. The tendency would be to drop that toe down. Okay, that's better. So 5.3.
Okay.
So this is obviously a shaft that's going to deflect that toe down a little bit less. So we were 7.7 with the Titleist, 5.3 with this one. That's much, much more like it. Nice. Delivery is almost identical. Same path, same angle of attack, same speed. That's really good. Definitely seems more consistent with this one, doesn't it?
Yeah, this one feels good coming off the face pretty much every time.
Yep. So, yeah, ball speed is being retained really nicely. I like the launch and spin. It's, I mean, identical with both, but we're definitely doing it more often. We can see that by the tighter standard deviation. Carry's really good, and we're hitting it more online. That's excellent. Delivery-wise, delivering a little bit less loft. Let's see what that peak height is. It's still pretty good. Okay, so we're going to make a little golf ball change. So we're hitting at 124 feet. Probably like to see that come down to about 115. We're going to move into the Titleist AVX.
AVX, okay. I feel like you can already see it's lower.
Such a good flight.
So lower, but that'll also probably carry further? Or is carry the same?
In certain conditions, for sure. So, yeah, 115 was our goal there, so 114 is where we got it. I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think when you play in tough windy days and you've got quite high ball flight and stuff, and you know it becomes a bit of a headwind, it's just tough to control that flight when you carry as much peak height as you've got. It's pure virtue, to be honest, of you've got such high speed. So now knocking that spin rate down, it just flattens out the flight a little bit. It's excellent.
Nice. It was as easy as that. I just had to use a different ball.
I mean, it's the low-hanging fruit that everyone misses is choosing the right golf ball.
Yeah.
It's the only constant that we use on every shot, on every hole. This looks excellent. I love the consistency of the flight. I mean, that was a really well-struck one. The previous one wasn't quite as well-struck, but really the result wasn't any different. The only way we could tell you missed this previous one was the ball speed dropped a little bit, but you still, you know, from a proximity standpoint, you were still the same, actually a little bit closer with this slight miss, which is good. Okay, this is definitely a contender for sure. Yeah. Let's try some others. Thank you. So this is an interesting set. AMT stands for Sending Mass Technology. So the 4-iron shaft is the lightest shaft. It progresses by 3 grams per shaft up to the heaviest shaft being the pitch and wedge shaft. So where you need a little bit more speed and dynamics, it certainly has that. And then when you need a little bit more control and feel on the wedges, it has that as well. So you know, it's a nice blend of that. Most iron sets are constant weight all the way through, but this is a nice progression.
Okay.
Okay.
That would usually be shorter, I think. Like I feel that I chunked it.
See, so the dynamic line was a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't overly steep. We maybe just got a little early into the turf, so it certainly wasn't a bad delivery at all. This dynamic line was much, much better. We were probably 7-8 degrees, so as the club gets a little longer, we are seeing the club shallow out a little bit more, which is good. So there's probably just some residual tendencies to get a little on the steeper side through the swing.
Yeah.
I think what was so good about the Mizuno was the lack of variance in shape. Yeah. It was just very, very, very straight. This one seems like we could hit it a little left, a little right. Okay, probably the most kind of similar to that blade style that what I've given you so far with the P7MC. Still a little bit more forgiveness in there than what you had with your blades, but it's on the smaller end.
Okay. That's the miss.
That's the one you never want to see. Right, so that's the one that goes, anything that goes kind of short right is going to be a chip up the green. Anything that goes long left
Yeah.
There's not much good happening behind the green.
Yeah. That one felt lower, lower on the face, but not that bad.
Yeah, it flew pretty good.
Yeah.
Back into the Mizuno. We're going to start working through some other shafts.
Yeah.
Does contact just feel a little bit more solid with the Mizuno one?
Now that I felt that, I felt the miss hits more directly. Like I could tell when I towed it.
Yep.
And I could tell when I was a little inside. And this one seems to fly more solid despite a miss hit.
Definitely.
So that's good.
Yeah, when you're playing as little golf as you are right now, that's something that will be very important.
Yeah, miss hits.
So good. You're just a Mizuno guy.
Yeah, maybe it is.
That's
maybe.
what it is.
Let me try to hit a cut or
Sure.
something. Let's see if that.
Yeah, I love that. So still good to fly 180. You had no trouble curving it. There, if you ever need to kind of get the spin back and land it a little bit softer, you just change the shape up a little bit.
Yep.
Love that. Now he's having fun.
I guess I like the Mizuno head.
The Mizuno is definitely the one. Anything stick out in terms of the weight of the club, you know, with the sort of feel of it, Marques? Everything feeling okay?
Yeah, feels solid.
I like this one for you. So this is a shaft called Nippon Modus, 120 grams. This is more the constant weight style of shaft than the other one, which was AMT. Half-inch long. I was a little worried at first with the half-inch long because there was some contacts, you know, getting the sort of steeper side, but it is been cool to watch as the sessions progressed. You're definitely getting shallower and shallower as the session goes on, which is, I think that's just you getting used to the set.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Nice.
Let's hit one more. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Not too high.
No, I mean, it's only high because you've got so much ball speed. What's your perception of Mizuno? I'm always curious to hear what people
It's
think
funny
about
when
it.
you look at like the brand perception, I would just look at the players who are playing it. So I don't know of many players hitting the Mizunos, so I don't know much about those.
Yeah.
But just from hitting it, felt really good, looked really good. So yeah.
Biggest difference, like we were kind of saying as you were testing with the second shaft, was the miss hits versus the well-struck ones. There wasn't that big of a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sort of the elastomer in the back of the head there that dampens the vibration. So you were mentioning on the TaylorMade, the P7MC, you were getting a lot of feedback from that one that you could really feel the miss hit.
Yeah.
That's quite a good thing if you're playing every day. So you get a lot of feedback from the golf club. It kind of tells you where you're at on that given day, toe, heel, wherever it might be. You don't need that right now. I mean, you really need to just stand up there and go and enjoy your golf and, you know, get away with a couple of squirrely strikes and, you know, take advantage of the couple of good ones that, you know, we're going to put in there as well. So the Mizuno is a kind of perfect blend of all of that. Really nice to bring the spin rate down a little bit and bring that height down a touch. You know, you've got a ton of speed. I mean, you're swinging comfortably at the end there. I mean, 100 miles an hour. The average male swing speed with a driver is 94. So your speed at 100 is 7 miles an hour quicker than the average PGA Tour player. So you've got a ton of speed. So again, more value to you going through the custom fit process at this point, really not knowing that you had that excess of speed. I mean, you probably just thought you were a little under that, or not quite PGA Tour speeds, but it's pretty good stuff.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Good start.
Okay, guys, we're going through the full process with Marques. We're going to go through irons, then driver, fairway wood, hybrid, wedges, putter. So we're going to conclude the irons right there. We're going to jump into the stealth that you already have, Marques. You've got a 9-degree stealth back home. So we're going to start with that and see how that compares. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you again soon.